Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, and today I've got somebody that sounds really mystical and intriguing for our audience. Her name is Angel Jury, and she is a modern day oracle. How intriguing is that? So, Angel, tell us more about what is it around modern day oracle? What does it actually mean for guests that have never heard that term before?
Oh, hey, by the way, thank you very much, Lyn, for having me on. I really appreciate this. A modern day oracle. So what is that? Basically, it is a newer way of saying intuitive medium or intuitive psychic.
Excellent. So it's all about using your intuition. So again, what does actually using your intuition mean to audience members that probably don't get what that actually means in terms of how they can get in touch with that or get connected with that?
Oh, well, here's the thing. We all have intuition. It depends on how you want to say it. Intuition basically is the language of the soul. It's that little voice inside of you that says yes or no. It's that voice that leads you down that pathway or it doesn't. It's also that gut instinct. And we've all been there with any choices that we make in our life. We use our own intuitive voice. And the hardest thing is people don't know whether it's the ego voice or the spirit voice. So being a modern day oracle, I have learned how to determine what is my ego voice, meaning myself, and what is my spirit voice, meaning the voice of angels, spirit guides, or loved ones that have passed on over to the other side.
Wow, sounds really fascinating. So today we discussed a little bit off air that it'd be good for us to talk about tapping into your intuition to find love. So before we get into that discussion, could you tell me a little bit about your own previous experiences, what's led you to doing what you're doing now, basically?
Well, what got me where I was, I have always been intuitive, even as a child. Some people call it an empath, and an empath is just a very highly sensitive individual who can pick up on other people's energetic fields, just because we are all energy. And so as a child, I was always sensitive. I always had the allergies and I always had that sensitivity to other people. And I was always drained by being around people who were in a bad mood or the hypersensitive people. And I always wondered why I picked up that energy. And then it got to the point where I started to hear those voices intuitively. And those voices became stronger than my own voice of reason. And I decided, I went into business, believe it or not. When I got into high school, I followed the line of going into business because I thought that's what I wanted, but it really was my ego that wanted that. I wanted the success behind being successful in business. And it wasn't until I started working with business owners that I realized that I just did not like it. So I basically threw my hands to the air and had a bunch of things happen at the same time, which kind of rocked my world. And one of them was I broke my shoulder and then I got pneumonia. Not nice to have pneumonia and a broken shoulder at the same time. I went through a divorce and I was going through a custody battle. It was horrible. I hit the ground. So I basically just threw my hands up in the air and said, "What do you want me to do?" And it was at that point, intuitively, I heard, "We want you to serve us." And that's when the voice started getting louder. And so I basically decided, you know what? I'm going to trust this voice because it's guided me this far, and everything that I did that I thought that I wanted to do got me into the wrong spots. And so it was at that point I decided, you know what, I'm going to start to find people, like-minded people that will help me polish this craft and help me own it. And so that's how I got into this.
Wow, really fascinating. I always find this sort of subject quite intriguing, regardless of what I think, your own personal beliefs are around this sort of information. I do feel it's great, that people, for the most part, can be open-minded to it at least, and give people a chance. So on that basis, when we were discussing how you can use your intuition to find love, what is it around intuition that we need to sort of focus on or tap into in order to attract or create love in our lives?
Lynn, it's funny because you talked about basically the acceptance of what it is that I do. Oddly enough, we are all psychic. It's who wants to tap into it more and who doesn't, because intuition is, like I said, the language of the soul. So when it comes to finding love, why wouldn't you ask your soul, right? Mm. If the language comes from the soul, that's where you want it to come from. Because in my experience, when I talk to spirit, the reason why I can tap into what they want to send me for a message or guidance is because I vibrate at a speed of love. In other words, being human, we have such a dense vibration, and spirit has a higher vibration. So I'm able to bring my vibration to a point where I can connect with them. And their messages all come from a vibration of love.
And I absolutely believe that, because I've always, for me, defined it in slightly different terms, but similar to yourself, where, your head is your ego and your self-talk is that, mind chatter that sometimes gets in the way, although it wants to protect you a lot of the times. It can do so at your detriment. And for me, the heart is the part of you that's connected to your soul or your spirit, if you like, and that's where your intuition is in terms of, for me, it's about placing my hand on my heart area and, really laying still and asking, like you say, those empowering questions.
Yeah, like have that conversation with your soul. I always say to people, because I get a lot of people that come to my studio, and one of the biggest inquiries I get from people is about the relationship. It's about love. Some people are lucky enough to have 3 people to choose from, and they want me to choose for them. I won't do that. I'm not taking your power away. You need to choose, right?
Lucky them.
Yeah, and if you're that lucky to have 3 people, woohoo! Look at you go. But at the end of the day, like I said, when you were conceived, the first organ that was made in your body was your heart, right? So that's what could be more of a beautiful story to know that the first organ made in your body was the heart, and guess where spirit lives is in the heart. So when you pass over, the ego dies with the body, but the spirit does not die. So when it comes to being intuitive about love, yes, have that conversation with your soul. Quiet the monkey mind, which is the ego, and have the conversation with your soul and listen for it, because trust me, it will tell you, and it will always bring you down the path of soul alignment and what's best for your higher self. And when I say that, I mean, I've had relationships where I was with this gentleman back in my early 20s, and every time he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing, I would get gut aches. And I'm just like, what is he doing? To find out, like, after we had broken up, 2 years after we had broken up, that he was having numerous affairs. And my gut was telling me that. But my mind was saying, no, he wouldn't do that. He loves me. But it's funny because your body will react too when it knows that something's not going right.
Yeah, I get that, certainly, from my knowledge, and I'm not a health expert, but from my knowledge of health, in terms of how your body reacts to things, I certainly know that, if people have a weight issue, which I've had up and down over the years, my weight issue is definitely connected to not feeling safe and secure in my environment. I know that.
100%. You're so bang on there. And you know what? When you have that reaction of not feeling safe, guess what? Sometimes you overeat for security reasons. Does that make sense?
Massively, it does. Yeah.
And that's the same thing that happens when it comes to relationships. Like a lot of people put themselves into relationships because they think this is all they're going to get, and that just brings to the surface insecurity. It's insecurity that they have not dealt with. I have a lot of people who are in relationships with people they don't really want to be with, but they get the security there to find out that really it stems back to their childhood and the relationship with their father.
Yes.
And it's not until we actually bring the things that we fear the most about love to the surface and face the shadows of how we how we think of love to the light, we won't heal and attract those things. I always tell people, here's the one thing you want to do when you want to attract the right person. And this is golden. You need to be exactly what you want to attract.
Absolutely.
So if you really want to attract somebody who has a great job and has a beautiful personality, and you have kids and you want them to love your kids more than you love your kids, and you better be all that too. Because if you're not putting out there what you want to attract in your life, then the balance is going to be off.
Yeah, I think it's so easy sometimes, isn't it, to lay blame at our partners rather than looking at ourselves and thinking, well, what part am I playing in either allowing this behaviour and in some ways even to the extent probably, you might have a soft nature. Women tend to be more forgiving, don't they? And in, I suppose, the name of forgiveness, forgive behaviour, which isn't actually acceptable. And then, okay, what message is that sending then to the guy who is, giving that behaviour? It's sending him the message that it's acceptable to you, and he'll always be forgiven for it.
You know what? You're 100% correct. It's funny because I think once we get accountable with what it is that we want to attract, it shows up. And if you are in a relationship right now and things are not going correctly and things are not making you feel good, and you're feeling that in your body, because like I said, your body also is going to react to your energy. Say you're getting headaches, you're getting stomach aches, you're suffering anxiety, depression. That's a red flag, and it's time to pay attention. And that, to me, is your intuition or your spirit saying to you, look, you're not aligning with your soul's purpose here. You're not aligning with your higher self. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, I get it 100%. And, for me, my story was that in my teens, I was seriously sexually assaulted twice and suffered that as a major trauma in my life. And then when I met my now ex-husband, he was a great guy. He was a really good guy, great father, great husband to me. But I only entered that relationship really for the security it brought. I felt safe and secure in that relationship. And I loved him, but I didn't love him with an open heart. There was always a guarded heart there. And it wasn't until, I separated from him when, this is after 23 years, that relationship served me. But I knew there was something more, a higher level of relationship that I wasn't getting from that. And I didn't know and didn't have the awareness at the time to realise what that was. So I left that relationship. And, looking back now, I realise, it met that need for safety, security and feeling protected.
Yeah. And you know what? The funny thing is, the one thing you pinpointed there is you didn't know why, but yeah, you did know why. Your heart knew why. Mm. And that was your intuition, but your ego was saying you have to stay for security reasons. Right?
And that just comes from our primal need, isn't it? The ego, is literally the primal DNA that's ingrained in us all, around the flight, fight or freeze response to threats, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. And the funny thing is, wherever, when it comes to the ego, I think people don't realize how much it can really harm you. It can really harm you. Whereas I like to say that your heart really is the compass. And if you can bring your thought system downstairs to where the heart is instead of being upstairs in the penthouse, you're going to make some beautiful choices. I know my first marriage, I thought it was everything, but there was always that little thing inside my mind saying to me, and that was my intuition until I figured it out, saying, this isn't going to last. This isn't going to last. I didn't even take his last name. And it's funny, we had children, and 10 years into it, I woke up one morning and kind of went, yeah, I'm not here. I'm not connected anymore. What the hell happened?
Mm.
And he didn't do anything. That's the honest truth. He what the connection wasn't there anymore, because like love is invisible. It's such a mystery, but it just, you know what? It's an emotion that we all feel, and it's a connection. That connection was gone. So I left him, and we ended up being best friends, but then some things happened and things went sour. So I stayed single for 8 years. And in that time, I met a lot of, I want to say losers. I call it like bottom feeders. That Plenty of Fish site, that was the site that was out for dating at that time. And it was horrible. And so I met some guys, but you know what? Something just kept saying, just be a good mom, be a good mom, be a good mom. And that's when I found myself. Was during that 8 years, I finally found me. And I really liked who I was, to the point where I really didn't want to commit to anybody ever again. And then my husband that I'm with now, we'll be together for 7 years. Believe it or not, he found me on Facebook. We were in grade 8 together, and I didn't want to add him as a friend because I didn't like him then.
Judging him from his previous of what you knew of him sort of X amount of years ago rather than who he is today.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to. He was a jackass in high school. And then, so anyways, if it wasn't for, because in my mind, I thought to myself, I knew what my perfect person looked like and what they were going to act like and what they were going to present to me. You know what? I didn't know nothing. Here's the thing. The good Lord gives you what you need, not what you want. And thank God he was persistent, because I would have missed out on the absolute best thing that would have ever happened to me in my lifetime. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, his intuition for love and loving me was much higher than my own. And my goodness, this man has just fulfilled every dream in my life.
Mm. It's funny you were saying about not taking your ex-husband's name, because for me, I did take my ex-husband's name, but pretty soon after we got married, I got a rash around my ring finger.
I did too.
Yeah, and I took my rings off, and I never put them back on again, you know, through the whole 20 plus years that we were together.
That is so funny, because I was just thinking that. I stopped wearing my ring because I got like a rash all around my finger. Now, what could be more of a sign from spirit than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So when, you know, and so now that I'm kind of realigned with love and what true love means, it's just so very important that other people out there realize that, one, you're not stuck, and two, you're not alone, and three, you know, love is going to come when you love yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. And sometimes it can be, though, you know, quite difficult to think, well, how do I start to love myself? If you've always subconsciously, you know, felt like you're not enough or not good enough or not deserving of love, or you know, and your self-esteem has took a massive hit through previous losses or rejections, how do you help people overcome that?
Well, you know what? Here's the biggest thing, Lynn. You have to realize that you are really making those limitations yourself. Okay. So that's what self-love is about, being able to look in the mirror and see every flaw of yours and accepting it and saying, you know what, it's okay. I'm not perfect, because you're not meant to be perfect. You're meant to be a human being yourself. I read something somewhere, and I don't know where it was, but it was kind of a profound moment for me, because it said the person that you're looking at in the mirror was actually your soulmate in a past life. And that makes a lot of sense, because, when you look in the mirror and you can see that reflection looking back at you, and if you can honestly say to yourself, you know what, if I loved you in a past life, I'm going to love you now, then that connection is going to be there. But when you connect with loving even the little parts of you, we've all made mistakes. Oh my goodness, mistakes are lessons learned. And you know what? Here's the other thing too. God's rejection is also God's protection. So maybe there's a reason why things went sour, because there's strength in you to pull yourself out of the abyss and bring yourself back to light again. And when I say that, I truly mean it's okay to look at all the things that you think make you, and say, okay, I accept that. I accept that I was rejected before. I accept that I was belittled before. I accept that, I was physically hurt before. But moving forward, I have so much, I won't let that happen again. See if you can find your power there, right? I will not let somebody do this to me again. I will not let somebody belittle me again. I will not. And it's in that statement, that you can find the strength to move forward. I also teach people journaling, and I tell people, write down who you think you are. I get people to write a eulogy, believe it or not, of who they think they are. And that could be in love. Who do you think you are as a lover? Write your eulogy. And when I say eulogy, I know it sounds kind of morbid, but it makes sense. Who do I think I am? What do I think I possess? What do I think I'm giving? Right? And then on the other side, I want you to write just where you want to go. Because the eulogy is part of you that you need to let die off, and you need to read it so you can kind of go, oh my goodness, is this who I really think I am?
Powerful.
Yeah, it's a powerful time. And just look at that. And every day, find the little things that you can do to change things, because you got the free will every day to make your own choices to do what it is that you want to do. And if your heart's crying out to you, then listen to it. Listen to it, because if you don't, here's the thing I know about spirit. Spirit's going to give you some signs. If you're not paying attention to the signs, they start giving you red flags. If you're not paying attention to those red flags, then they're going to pull the universe out from underneath your feet. It happens all the time.
I agree with that. And it's just, I suppose, sometimes a bit tough, isn't it? Because sometimes I tend to, when I'm sort of alone with myself and I'm having a really, really hard, challenging time, I sometimes sort of ask my soul, really? Does it have to be this painful for me to learn this lesson?
Yeah. If you understood that what's on the opposite side of that lesson is what you want, go through the door. Just go through the door. Keep going forward, because I know I get a lot of people coming to see me and they're like, oh, but I'm still in love with them. And it's just like, well, how long ago did you guys date? 2 years ago. I'm like, well, is he still in your life? No, he's not in my life anymore. Well, then, you know what? You're going back to a past memory that is nothing but a vibration. It's just energy, because that person's energy no longer exists in your life anymore. You've got to let go of the thought of that energetic thought, because if the person is physically not in your life, it's nothing more than an energy thought.
Yeah, and it is. I think I suppose most women are quite guilty of this. We're quite. Well, mind you, I have to say, no, I'm going to scrub that, because I'm going to say women are more romantic, but actually, I don't think that's necessarily the case. But I think we do sort of romanticize and fantasize, and I suppose men do too. But I feel that women are more prone to do that.
Yes. We're going back and revisiting because all of our past is still energetic. But there's no need to revisit something that you're going to beat like a dead horse. Like I said, if that person is physically, energetically no longer in your life, do your very best to cut the cord and let that go. Because if you're still hanging on to that, how are you going to open up the portal to someone new coming into your life? Because what you're doing is you're telling the universe, hey, I'm still stuck here. I'm still stuck with this guy. And the universe is kind of going, oh, look, she's still stuck on that person, still stuck on that guy. So I'm going to give her more memories about being stuck with that person.
Yeah, because we get what we focus on, don't we? Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent.
So if you can just, like I always tell people, process the energy, get it out of your energetic field, write about it, write a letter to that person. I don't care if you want to make it the nastiest letter you ever written, but get that energy out of your energetic field, burn the damn letter. And when the memory comes up again with that person, do it again. Repeat the process. Write the letter to that person. Write whatever you need to say. Energetically get it out. Burn it again. Because what you're doing is you're showing the universe, I know how to get rid of this energy now. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. Then the universe is going to look at you. Oh, look at that. She's letting go of that energy. I'm going to give her more things to begin to let go of more. And before you know it, you're kind of going, oh my goodness, look at that. I let go of that. And I'm feeling kind of good. Then the universe looks at you and kind of goes, you know what? You're no longer attached to that energy. So I'm going to open up a portal and I'm going to start bringing you new suitors. And it works amazingly.
It does. And I give a similar sort of analogy, to what you were saying about, writing it down and then burning it or ripping it up or whatever you do with that writing that person's done. I get them to visualize, having a cord connected to that person and then cutting that cord, and keep doing that as an exercise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I laugh because in my journaling course, I do get people to write a nasty letter to somebody that they just can't seem to get rid of. And it's funny, they write it all out. And then we play sometimes with cards. The cards are a beautiful divination tool. And a lot of them are very inspirational. So they'll write down what cards they pull with this letter. And the minute we go to burn it, my goodness, they just smile. It's like they just let go of 100 pounds of, or 100 years of wasted time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful release.
Absolutely. It's so liberating, isn't it, when we can sort of take that plunge. And then it only takes one minor action, actually. But, if we need to repeat it, you do get the result in the end. And it doesn't have to be a huge shift. It can be just that exercise that you described about writing a letter that can start to make the difference and put you on that different path to a whole bright new future, can't it?
Oh my goodness. You know what? It will realign you. It will realign you. And when you are realigned, guess what? You're ignited, okay? And then you start to get inspired. And when you're inspired, you get passionate. When you get passionate, guess what? Passion is intimacy. Guess what intimacy does? It attracts other intimacy. So when I say to people, use your intuition when it comes to love, that means get right with yourself first. Because if you, like I said, are in not such a good situation and you know what, you're going through a nasty divorce and your ex-husband's doing this or your ex-wife's doing that or you're not working and stuff like that, don't think that some millionaire is going to come in, sweep you off your feet and all's going to be good. You need to get right with yourself because that's showing self-love. And then when you get right with yourself, then, things start to shift. Things start to happen. People start to show up. It's because you actually purged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't fit anything into a closet if it's stuff full of crap. So start purging, start looking at yourself. And there's nothing better than when you can cleanse your soul and say, oh, okay, yeah, I need to change this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to get rid of the old to make way or create a vacuum for the new, haven't you?
Yes, you absolutely do. So get real. And you want to attract an amazing love in your life. You want to, even replenish the love life that you're in. Get real. Don't think that the other person has to do it all and you just need to show up. No, this is a team effort.
Absolutely. 100% agree. And on that note, Angel, I would just like to ask you, what is your best contact information for any audience members that would like to get in touch with you?
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you my website. Everybody can find me on there. My social media is on there. It is sacredsilence.net.
Sacredsilence.net.
Correct, yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your information about intuition. I've loved this conversation, and I've always attracted quite a wide audience that's always open to new explorations. So hopefully they've got some great insights and bits of wisdom and tips from our discussion today.
I hope so too, Lynn. Thank you so very much. And you know what? During these times, I hope all is well over there in Spain.
Excellent. And the same goes for you too. And it just goes for me to close now and to say to our lovely audience that opening your heart is where true love starts. So on that note, until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.